Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of
Kind of
course.
feels so special.
So how is where I guess my first question would be like, where are you located?
Right now I'm in Fort Myers, Florida.
Okay.
2 hours south of Tampa. Like we're in the middle of Tampa and Miami, right? Smack in the
Yeah,
middle.
so I guess you don't have to worry about like snow or anything like that.
No, I'm originally from Ohio, and I live in half the snow. They can
You're
have
done with
it.
that. Yeah. No, we just came back from Tampa area. My wife's family is from Tampa.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. It was so funny because like where I'm at in Nashville, it's
Mhm.
snowing and really
Yeah.
cold. So we drove, and driving back, it was literally like going from like beach tropical weather to like every few miles
Yeah.
the degrees would
It's really
drop
weird. Yeah.
until we got to freezing. So,
Mhm.
so is that's like where you train out of in that
Yeah.
area?
For the most part, sometimes I go, like I have some other wellness friends that are in like Pembroke Prime, Pembroke Pines area, like
Hmm.
Fort Lauderdale. So sometimes I'll go down there, but for the most part, I do my own like training and everything up here.
Got it. Got it. So, how did you get into like fitness and training, weightlifting, all that?
Well, I've always been like a generally like athletic person.
Hmm.
So just like growing up, I did like competitive cheerleading. We were always in some sort of sport. Like all of my siblings were either in cheerleading or my brothers were in football, and then like my sisters were in track. So I was always kind of in some sort of sport. And then after like through college and everything, I just was just maintaining a healthy lifestyle, working out,
Hmm.
and all that sort of thing. But I just took it more seriously and started going to the gym with my dad because my dad is actually a really big like old school bodybuilding fan. Like he had all like the Lee Haney posters and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but I always just thought like, well, I like bodybuilding, but like from a woman's perspective, when all you see is like the huge guys, you're like, where would I fit in all of that? But then I hooked up with one trainer down here. She used to compete in figure, I believe. So I just was learning more about the different divisions. And then I actually started following a lot of wellness girls before wellness even came over to the NPC IFBB.
Hmm.
So I just figured in my head if I was going to compete, I was going to have to just travel, to where they were having wellness. But then when they said that they were bringing it over to the NPC, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in because that's the physique I always really loved. So
So that's interesting. So you were willing to just go out of, I'm assuming probably out of the country because I don't
yeah,
you know
yeah, I
in
think
the
because I saw a lot
good.
of Brazilian girls, and then I knew some girls like in the UK who like would
Yeah.
be.
So you were willing to travel to to be in wellness. You weren't gonna just drop down to like figure or nothing like that.
Yeah, because my whole opinion was always I started a prep thinking I was gonna do wellness,
Hmm.
and then the coaches here didn't know what it was, so I was just like, I rather compete in a body type I like and keep growing in that than to have to always be altering my body type to fit some division. I rather
Got it.
just
So you think that you fit wellness kind of fits your physique better?
yeah. I tried bikini for like I don't want to say I tried it because I like had a prep and I lasted like a week. So I tried bikini, but it was just like I was like I cannot like
Yeah.
move my down because like I mentioned I ran a lot. Like with competitive cheerleading, you're doing a lot of sprints and all that, especially like if you're a base. So I had a
Mm,
lot of muscle on my legs just in general.
right.
So I have to try to bring that down. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine that's got to be tough because I mean, a lot of the bikini girls, even though they're becoming more muscular now than ever before, there's still like a huge significant difference between
mm-hmm,
wellness and bikini,
yeah,
especially in the legs too.
mm-hmm. And I feel like more so now because before there was wellness, I think girls were just developing more muscle because they still didn't quite look like figure, so they were kind of
Hmm.
giving away with it. But now that there's a defined category for the bigger legs, now it's even more lean with bikini.
Yeah. So do you think majority of the, I guess you could say, transplants or transfers from different divisions into wellness, that most of them come from figure or from bikini, you think?
Um, I don't know. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of been 50-50 because I,
Mhm.
like most people, I was assuming a lot of the bikini girls just kind of be like, oh, great, I can train a little harder. But I mean, I know quite a few figure girls.
Yeah.
who want to transition down into wellness. So I think it's just kind of a happy medium. I think more so like bikini and figure, not so much like physique and the other
Yeah.
categories, but I think it's just like a nice middle ground for both of those girls to kind of filter into.
Yeah, that's interesting to try to go from figure to wellness, because I imagine, like, you've got some of the leg development probably not as large, but at the same time you have a, pretty like gnarly upper body usually, especially when you get to those higher levels, so to try to lose that, I wonder how like that feels like.
Yeah, I think it's easier transition. Like if you're a bikini girl, I feel like the transition would be easier
Mm,
because all you're really doing is just like, okay, let me just train a little harder because a lot of the girls have to stop training legs.
right.
But I found the figure girls is harder, not even just with training, but the posing they really struggle with, because I have like some posing clients who are figure and they really struggle with like that front pose because their lats like just
Mhm.
automatically up, and you know what I mean? It's like they have to switch their brain to not do that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So what did you think about yeah, I'm assuming you caught the Olympia Wellness division. So what
Yes.
did you think about just the overall,
Mhm.
show?
I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of us other wellness girls were watching it because, setting the standard of what
Hmm.
we kind of know what to base our preps around, or, just to kind of train towards. I thought it was a great show, but I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I don't really know if a standard's been set.
Hmm.
Because I feel like for me, the top three, just even the top three, to me look very different in just structures in general. Um,
So I can't remember now. French Yellow obviously won it.
and then Angela was second, and then
Hmm.
Issa, yeah, was third. And I just feel like their structures are wellness, but they're all so different too. Like it's
Right.
really hard. I feel like Fran is very more like a lean wellness, so to speak.
Hmm.
And then Issa has like those great quads, and then Angela's glutes are just so rounded. So it is kind of like they all have their strong point in different spot. So I felt like it was a standard in regards to Fran. I believe like I thought she was gonna win before the Olympia because I just love her shape.
Hmm.
But I feel like once you start trickling down, it's just like,
It
well,
gets muddy. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when Fran won that, who's that? Arnold, and I believe
Mhm.
Issa, if I'm not mistaken, got second in that show.
Yeah.
I thought that like she's probably gonna win the Olympia. Now, of course, a lot since then, and the Olympia, a lot of time has gone by. A lot more competitors, threw their hats in. A lot of people won different shows. So then it started to get like, well, will she? But they definitely, I mean, rewarded her for her look. So it'd be interesting to see like how like the future Olympias, like, is she going to be like a long lasting,
Yeah.
Olympia reoccurring like some of the other divisions, or is this going to
Mhm.
be like bikini where every few years they change, an Olympia champ? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for me, Fran has like, I think she has the best physique with regard to what the criteria actually says.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there is so much room for interpretation, but to me, she does look like a more developed bikini girl,
Right.
in my opinion. So
Yeah,
that's why.
because sometimes you'll see wellness, and like you said, it'll be completely different. You'll get almost bodybuilder type of like
Mm,
lower half, and
yeah.
then and like Fran is, like you said, like a more developed like bikini look, so it's, yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those divisions that it's still like in its initial stages, at least here in the States, and so there's going to be a lot of like debate on
Mhm.
what should win and what shouldn't.
Exactly.
So what are your so how, I guess, like, how did your 2021, we're in 2022 already, I forgot almost for a second, how did the year go for you as far as competitively?
Um, 2021 was a good year. It was a lot of emotion. So I did the North Americans as my first show in 2021, and it's crazy. I got 10th at the North Americans, and then so second call outs, and then literally 4 weeks later, I did the Olympia Amateur and got my pro card. So it was just like,
How
I was
weird.
like, yeah, like a huge like jump. So and then Olympia is hard because you have to be top. 3 overall. So I won my class and I got top 2 overall.
What do you attribute that to? It's a huge jump. You know, I mean, I'll let you like speak on it, but what do you think the difference was?
For me, I know we came in a lot tighter. My feedback was basically just coming a lot tighter. So I dropped probably another like 4 to 5 pounds within that time. Like, I know it sounds like a small amount, but it really made a big difference on stage. So I think I just came in a lot tighter. And I think the mindset was totally different at the Olympia Amateur. I think I was just like kind of in my head at the North Americans. And then come to Olympia Amateur, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to kill it. Like, you know what I mean? I just had my mindset was just totally different.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Were this just out of curiosity, were the same judges on both panels?
No, I think the head judge for North Americans was Sandy, and then I can't remember at the Olympia.
So they were different, yeah. So they were. It's possible that they could have been like, you know, obviously you've made some improvements, but then also the different interpretation, like we talked about. So it could have played a factor, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, getting your pro card, it's a big deal. You know, that's exciting, especially, you know, like you said, coming in 10th, you probably were thinking, you know, I don't know how this is going to go, but then to win it like that.
Yeah. And I think that kind of helped my mindset too, because I was like, well, as long as I'm not in 10th.
As long as I see some improvement, right?
Like, I need to at least get first call out. So that was like my mindset. Like, hey, I'm at least gonna get first call outs. I just got to improve from last time, and then it worked out.
Were you when they, you know, announced that you won your division? Did you like? How did you feel? Like, what were you thinking at that time?
Oh, I was just like, okay, this is happening, because you go from winning your class and you're like, great, I got a class win. And then you go back and you're like, okay, you're about to get the overall comparisons. You might get your pro card. So then your brain is like, oh man, I might want my pro card today. So it was just, I felt like after we did like comparisons, I felt like, okay, the way they were moving us around, I felt confident. But then when it actually happened, I was like, oh yeah. So it was just a lot of emotion from like, because you know, you don't want to get like too excited and think like, oh, I got this in the bag.
Right. That's a great way to get disappointed if you get too excited. I always see like people think that they, you know, there's no way they can lose, and then somehow they don't get it, you know. That's crazy. How did your dad feel about it? Was he at the show?
And I think that helped too, because my parents, since they had the Olympia in Orlando, since I'm in Florida, it kind of worked out. So my family could come. And oh my gosh, my dad was like so loud. I was just like, I'm like, if I didn't have any confidence, I had it after that show, because I could like hear him from a distance, like, yeah, like screaming in the crowd. So I was like, I got my own little hype man out there.
That's funny. I figured he would be excited, especially since you mentioned that he's an old school bodybuilder. Like to have, you know, his daughter get a pro card in the IFBB, that's a big deal for him, I'm sure.
Yeah, every time he meets people, he's like, yeah, you know, my daughter is like an IFBB pro. You know, like if you're not into bodybuilding, you're like, what is that?
That's funny. So what now? I mean, now that, you know, we're in 2022, like what are your plans? You got your pro card. What are the thoughts on the comps?
Well, I did my pro debut. I did the Texas Pro in November of 2021.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware. How did that go?
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to jump right into another show, because I wanted to see how I literally stacked up against the other pros, like just from earning my pro card. So have an off-season plan. So I want to take a nice long off-season. I'm probably not going to do anything until probably like Tampa Pro. I know that's like in August or so this year. So I'm thinking more like fall, because the Olympia is not until December. So I feel like it kind of gives a little wiggle room to give a little more time to try to qualify.
Yeah. What do you so Olympia is in December. Are they moving it back to Vegas, or?
Yeah.
They are. So it's not going to be in Orlando anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have kept it in Orlando. I feel like it's, you know, it's better, like easier to get to.
Yeah, I'm biased because I'm in Florida, but I liked the Florida.
Yeah. it's just so much like easier in Florida than it is Las Vegas. Everything, you know, prices are probably better, I would imagine, right? Like for people coming visiting, like you
Yeah.
probably get a bet, I would imagine, a better crowd, especially with this COVID, you know, situation that we're in. Yeah, but we'll see how it goes. You know, it'll be the first time back in Vegas since everything, you know, kind of happened. So so how did your, so you said you're training now, like probably just for the next whatever until August.
Mhm.
How does the off season look like for you as far as training and nutrition is concerned?
Yeah. Right now, my food we've gone up a little bit more since the show.
Mhm.
Um, we kind of do like the reverse diet. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, reverse diet, whatever, I'm eating because I felt like I was a prep forever. So
Yeah,
I did a
reverse
reverse.
diet, basically just eat whatever you can.
So after Christmas, got all that out of my
Hmm.
system. But now, so I'm about like 2,900, almost like 3,000 calories or
Hmm.
so. Like on my training days, and then I'm a little over 2,500 on my rest days. So I'm still like we're slowly increasing the food right now. Right now, I still have a little bit of cardio, like 45 minutes a week because I kind of break it up. So it's not very much cardio, but it's more so just to kind of maintain while we're increasing the food.
Yeah.
Um, I know for my coach, I know every coach is a little different. She likes to utilize cardio during prep to kind of give that shock to your body. So we end up taking it out during my off seasons, and so when we start prep, it's just a little thing,
Yeah,
just
you
making
kind of get like newbie gains almost, like since you haven't
yeah,
done cardio in such a long time, your body kind of responds more
yeah,
immediately to it.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just training like 5 days a week. So, like weight training 5 days a week.
Are you like a heavy lifter or are you do more volume?
Right now, I'm lifting pretty heavy. I like to, since I have so many leg days, it's more volume, like on my glute training days, it's more of a volume day. But I am trying to like really push the weight because I know my feedback is always size. So I'm really trying to get, that heavy lifting in.
Yeah, I was gonna touch on that. You said you're I was gonna ask you like what you're, you know, what you're trying to bring up. You said that feedback is usually size. In particular, like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so I know after the Texas Pro, that Sandy was the head judge at that show. So she kind of told me bring up my quad sweep more.
Mhm.
I have a pretty good glute and hamstring tie-in, but they just want it's wellness, so they just want bigger glutes. So more
Right.
of a quad sweep and then bigger glutes.
Like you're like it's just wellness. They're gonna want bigger glutes. Doesn't matter.
Definitely, you can never go wrong with
Right,
bigger.
right. So like what is like I guess what does wellness like look like for you as like as far as a division? Where would you like it to go? I know we talked a little bit about Fran like being kind of the idea that you have for, you know, what's she fits the criteria, like we talked about that. Do you see do you see wellness like getting bigger, more muscular, like the other divisions? The reason I say that is because the running topic a lot of times on my shows is how much more muscular all the divisions have gotten, excuse
Yeah.
me, since their inception, you know. And like for example, like women's physique and women's bodybuilding, like the women's physique girls are now like so much bigger than when Dana Lynn Bailey won, you know, her first Olympia. And so like what do you think as far as like wellness? You think that they're going to follow the same trend?
Mm-hmm. Um, well, I hope not. I liked the judging at the Olympia. I agree with Fran being the overall winner. Me personally, my preference for wellness is I'm not really into the really hard look, really striated look. Um, just my personal preference. But
Mm,
I feel like I like Fran's look so much because I feel like wellness can kind of turn into the quads are just so big. It's
mm,
like you're saying, it's kind of like that bodybuilder leg, and then you have like a bikini top. Like, I don't understand.
yeah.
So so I like the judging that I've seen so far, and then also the U.S. is going to be different than Brazil or even the
Mm,
UK that has wellness. So um, I personally like where the judging trends are going. I feel like they're looking for more of a softer look. Um, just based on the last couple of overall wins.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Do you feel like the Hispanic countries tend to look for a harder look or a softer look compared to the US?
It's so weird to me because I feel like they're softer, but they're still bigger, if that makes sense. Like their
Hmm.
quads are so big.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what the debate is always. Like when you see when someone's saying, oh, well, she's not hard enough, she's not big enough. I feel like usually they're referring to the quad suite,
Hmm.
but I feel like wellness should be more than just big quads. I feel like it
Right.
should have a flow to it.
Yeah, because it does have that like bikini-esque aspect to it, right? Like if you were going to compare it to any other divisions and remove size, right? Like we're not talking about size, you would say like they're probably closer to bikini. Even like the posing is like very similar, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from. I definitely hope it doesn't become one of these things where it's outrageous and then they have to create another division to try to like bring it back together, you
Yeah.
know.
And I think I like the way the judging has been because I think they're trying to kind of put a halt to it because there are girls who have huge legs. And if we're starting here, like if this is the divisions, first and second year, we're already starting like here. I'm just like, I can't imagine,
Right.
you know, 10 years from now.
Right, like where do you go, right? It's kind of like, I mean, it's going to be insane, girls with like flow are not going to be able to like compete really,
Exactly.
so crazy. So I guess you said at this point you're waiting for August, right? So, and when you start your prep, like what does that look like for you?
Like the food wise and like
Yeah,
the
nutrition and training. Do you make any adjustments, or
Mhm.
how does that work?
um I with our approach is we normally kind of ease into it.
Mhm.
So we'll slowly drop the food. Um so let's say I think I'm like at 6 meals right now. Usually either I drop a meal or she removes carbs from one of the meals. So instead of it
Mhm.
being like veggies, chicken, and rice, she'll just take the rice out of it or the whatever that carb source is for that meal
Yeah.
out of it. So usually we drop the carbs like immediately from one meal, and then we slowly taper down. And the same with my cardio. We start kind of like easing into it, and then towards the end, we kind of increase the cardio as we go. I know some people are opposite, where they do kind of the heavy lifting in the beginning,
Mhm.
um, but we try to do it early. We try to start prep early enough to where I can ease back like that last couple weeks and kind of coast into the show.
How long is your prep usually last?
I typically do like a 12-week prep. I might do like a 16-week. I've never really like, well, I'll say 12 weeks from the initial show because if
Hmm.
you do the show, then obviously your prep lasts a little longer. But typically like 12 weeks from the initial show that I want to do.
So like once you get into shape, will you try to like hit several shows at once just to kind of keep that going?
Yeah. Like the same with last year, I try to do them within like, okay, 2, 4 weeks of the next show. So like this past year, I had a show, I think North Americans was September. So like
Mhm.
literally September, October, November, I was doing a show.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier like that, right? When you're already in shape, just go ahead and hit a few shows. Like on the men's side, it depends, on who it is, but some guys have a hard time maintaining that peak condition for multiple shows. I don't see that issue with like women, that generally doesn't happen. Stay pretty lean
Yeah.
all the way through. Are you generally like a lean individual? Do you have trouble like losing body fat?
Yeah, I mean, I always was like super skinny growing up. And
Hmm.
so that's also why I didn't want to do bikini. I was like, I finally got legs, not going back. So I've always been like pretty lean. So that's why it is like this off season, like eating so much because I went from like being starving all the time and I was eating a lot. And now it's like, oh man, I got to eat all this food. So
Yeah,
I kind of
yeah.
got to get putting on size has always been a bit of a struggle for me in a sense. It's like, especially like muscle is,
Mm.
it's hard to put on, like, it's easy to put on a whole bunch of fat, but
Yeah,
to kind of
right. I mean, all you got to do is eat, right?
add the muscle. Yeah.
So I guess like from your from speaking with you, I think I kind of already know the answer to this, but I was curious if you would ever consider like doing a different division. Like, are you just going to stick with wellness all the way
So
through?
wellness is where it's at for me. Yeah, I
That's
really just like the flow and like even like the off season. I like the off season look to where
mhm.
because there's some divisions where it's such an extreme from your off season to your stage look. And
Yeah,
I feel like with wellness, I can generally, have the nice legs and, keep some size on me. I don't have to get so depleted to get on
right.
stage.
Yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from. I was actually thinking about that a little earlier about how, and I think I saw somebody's picture, and it was a like off season versus stage, and it looks like two different people. Like it doesn't even look like the same person anymore, and it looks like the person in the off season looks like they don't work out at all, and then on stage they just look incredible. So yeah, I can't imagine how hard that is, like on your body. That's sometimes getting so big in the off season is that it's a controversial subject because a lot of people say that you shouldn't even be gaining that much weight in the off season.
Yeah, my whole rule of thumb is like in the morning, if I can at least see where the outline of my abs should be, then I'm
Hmm.
good. Like if it's just like,
Yeah,
you're
then you're in striking distance. Yeah, if you can see the outline of your abs, then you're in striking distance. Then you can, you're not that far from where your stage
exactly.
looks like. So yeah, do you keep up with the other divisions as well, like men's open, anything like that?
Um, Fairly well.
Hmm.
Because I mean, I really do like the open men's division because I'm
Hmm.
like a meathead deep down inside. So for the most part.
What do you think about the outcome of the Olympia, this last one on the men's open?
Oh man, I'm such a Brandon fan, so like I'm a little biased. I
Hmm.
just like his flow because he's really big, but I just think his aesthetic is still so pleasing.
Yeah.
Um, like I feel like Big Ramy is like the shock factor. You know what I mean? Where it's
Yeah.
just like, gosh, he's huge. So yeah, but I just I'm a
Yeah,
little
agreed. I mean, I put out a video by myself and then with another guy talking about the Olympia right after it, and I felt like Brandon won that Olympia. In my eyes, he won it. I'm also a little biased because Brandon's here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I live, and so he has a gym over here and he lives over here. But still, even if that wasn't the case, I still
Mhm.
feel like he's got everything. He's got the flow, he's got the muscle, and it's when you look at Ramy, it's like you can't really say anything like bad about him per se, but it's just side by side. If I'm looking at like who do I want to win the Olympia, like it would be Brandon. So
Yeah, I feel like it's such like like they look good standing alone, but I think when they're side by side, it's such like a personal preference thing.
sure,
Because
sure,
my preference is I like the obviously it's open, so they're going to be huge no matter what. But I
right.
just feel like just to me just looks so much more conditioned. Like to be that big and look very conditioned, and you see so many lines and the detail.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
just like that.
yeah. I mean, if you can bring in the kind of condition that like Chris Bumstead brings in, at Brandon's weight, it's like that's an extreme accomplishment. And I feel like the same kind of principles apply, like we were talking about wellness, how you have some that are just so like such big legs, and then you have somebody like Fran who's flows well. And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of like the same principles across all divisions. It's like, what do you want? Do you want somebody who's gigantic and just like monstrous, or do you want somebody who's big enough but looks great too? If that makes kind of any sense.
Yeah, and that kind of like makes me think that's probably why I like France look so much because I'm a conditioning girl. Like I just would prefer you be conditioned than big. And I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of girls kind of sacrifice the conditioning because they're like, well, it looks like they want bigger, so let me just, come in bigger. And I'm just, I'd
Sure.
rather you go a little smaller and see more details and see more. Because to me, bodybuilding is about like, you're basically like the sculpture, so to speak.
Right.
So I like to see a little more of the symmetry and the flow to it. So I think
Yeah.
that's why I just, look so much.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is look at this, look at that statue that they give to the men's open of that sculpture, like you said. I mean, that's the principle right there that you kind of are guided by, so it's and also, like, to your point, when I think of someone on the outside looking like onto that stage, like outside of the fitness industry, like somebody that doesn't know much about it,
Yeah.
who would they think is an athlete? And I feel like if they look at someone that's conditioned, they're going to think of that person as an athlete versus someone who's just gigantic. It's like, it's kind of like, yeah, they're big, but it's way more impressive to have somebody that's just completely shredded. So I don't know. Those are just my thoughts on it. Hadi, I thought, what did he come in? Do you remember? Hadi Shupin, he came in like third, right? Or something, or third, I think.
I know he was like top 4, right?
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. And then Flex, Flex Lewis is supposed to jump it into this next one. So it's gonna be a pretty good open show.
Yeah.
Your dad is gonna be super excited, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was trying to get him to the nationals that we just had in Orlando because Lee Haney was going to be there because I was there last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Haney and I was like, guess who I just met? And he was like, Lee Haney.
So he's never met him before?
No, so he was like so jealous of me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you gotta somehow get them together. Maybe like scout out, see where Lee Haney is going to be next. So that's gonna be pretty cool for him.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's it's so different, like from those days to now. Like bodybuilding has evolved so much. Yeah, it's do you feel like it's like going the right direction as far as like just everything encompassing? Of course, we have like the internet and social media that now is kind of promoting bodybuilding too. What are your thoughts on it?
I think I don't say like it's going in the wrong direction. I think it's like what you're saying. I think social media and that has a big part to play in it because back in the day, I feel like you could just train and just love training, and that's all you really needed. I feel like now you have to be like a personality, and you have to, everyone's got to have some sort of following, and I think that makes it harder for maybe the athletes that still work hard and look really good who just may not be a social media personality. So
right, yeah. It feels. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, or the criticism has expanded from just the judging panel or those who are fans of the sport to now everybody's got an opinion on how you look because social media.
Yeah, that is definitely something. A lot of, like, if you follow that kind of thing, it does happen a lot. You'll have somebody that posts a picture, and then you'll have all kinds of criticisms from people that, in most cases probably don't have any leg to stand on when it comes to, training or anything like that. But so it's almost like you have to have kind of like a thick skin too at the same time. So have you ever, go ahead.
You're commenting on this. I'm like, you're not even a bodybuilding fan. So
yeah. Have you had that experience?
Oh yeah, but I just block those people. I guess my skin's not that thick. I've got the "you look like a man" comment for the first time, and I was just like, oh my gosh, someone thinks I look like a man.
So. I was like, okay, I get it. Then I would hate, like, I don't even want to go down that direction. It doesn't even make any sense.
I was like, well, if I look like a man,
like, what do you think? Exactly. So yeah, it's crazy how it gets, and it's like, but hey, blocking is a good way to get rid of them too. I don't think that means you
positivity in my space. I can control, like, delete.
Right. Yeah, I had a couple of those. I had to block them as well. It's like, I don't want to even deal with it, because what happens if you don't block them? What's going to happen is they're just going to say that in every picture that you put up. So it's like, I don't want to deal with that. So as far as like the situation with COVID, it looks like we got this, Omicron one that's kind of spreading everywhere. How does that like affect your, your training or anything like that? I know Florida is fairly open when it comes to that. do you like foresee any kind of issues? Do you have anything at home where you can kind of like pick up if something if a gym shuts down by any chance?
Um, well, I'm not too worried because, like you said, I live in Florida, so it's kind of like COVID.
It's a free
What's
for
next?
all. Yeah.
Like whenever I go to Ohio and like we're in a store and they're wearing masks, I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just so different. I think it honestly depends on where you are geographically.
Hmm.
So um when the first shutdown happened, like yes, everybody was kind of experiencing the same thing. But I think at this point there's enough information in place to where we're gonna kind of just wear your mask if it's something to that extreme, or I think there's more outlets than just shutting down.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. It's more so like just an inconvenience in the sense of, if you test positive and all the steps that you have to go to.
Right. Yeah. I guess the biggest issue would be like the shows that you're trying to hit. Like some of the girls that I talked to in the past, they were concerned. Like in one in particular, just recently I spoke to, she said that she was prepping for then, for entire like 12 weeks, 13 weeks,
Mhm.
whatever it was. And then the day before the show gets canceled.
Yeah.
And it's like, like,
Yeah. That's funny because how you mentioned Fran and Issa did the Arnold in
Mhm.
2020. That was my first show ever. I did the Arnold Amateur as my
Oh,
first show
wow. Awesome.
ever in competing. So that was the show where it basically was like the start of all the shutdowns because they let the Arnold go on, but you couldn't have any spectators. So I was freaking out because I'm like, this is my first show ever. And then we got the email like the Arnold is shutting down, and then my like I'm from Ohio, so I had family up there, and they're like, we don't know what's going on, like because they were trying to like watch the news too because it was
Yeah.
more of a story, and that was crazy for a first time experience.
Yeah, I heard. So I've got a story about that too. It's not as interesting as yours because you were competing, but I was going to go spectate there, be in the audience.
Yeah,
And it was an Arnold. Like I went to an Arnold a few years ago, and I was excited to go back. I was ready. And then as I'm driving, like 2 days before, whenever it was, they announced it, and I'm looking at RX Muscle, and I'm like, and Dave Palumbo like put it up that they're doing that, and I was
yeah.
like, no, this is like,
You were
is
already
crazy.
the road. You said
Say what?
you were already on your way.
No, I was just preparing. Oh yeah, that would have been a lot worse. That would have been a lot worse. Yeah.
Like you imagine driving and be like,
The like, what if you're like a few hours in and then you have to turn around and go back? But I heard that Arnold actually, he really fought hard to even have the athletes be able to compete with the government there because they wanted to kind of completely shut everything down. So
yeah,
I mean, at least that worked out. So but
yeah.
yeah, crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
From the athlete's perspective, it was crazy because they were saying, okay, we're not gonna have spectators, and then they said, yes, we can. And then when we were having like coaches were trying to come backstage with their clients, and I know like my opposing coach at that time was Kenny Wallach,
Mhm.
and he was trying to come in and look at his clients, and then they had like a mandate by the state and was like, no, if you're not an athlete, get out. So then it was like everyone was scrambling trying to get out of there. So it was like from a
Yeah.
backstage perspective, it was crazy.
Like a mad rush. Yeah, I can imagine, like, especially your first show, you probably got, a little bit of nerves, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I would think so. And then now your coaches can't, go back there with you and all this like commotion going around you. It
Mhm.
had to be really difficult.
Exactly.
Yeah. Are they holding the Arnold? They are holding it again this year, right?
Yeah, it's in March. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
so
actually
they brought it back to
yeah
no spectators though, right?
for this year.
Or are they have
That's the thing. I'm not sure because they announced it before this new variant. So as far as now, it's supposed to have spectators, but
mm,
who
well, I
knows?
guess we'll see, right? Yeah, interesting. So have you thought about like doing any coaching or training yourself? Do you do that now?
I do personal training, so I have more
Mhm.
like lifestyle clients, and then I do posing coaching. I would love to get into competition coaching, but I just know that's just its own set of responsibilities. And I just feel like there's so much more I want to learn about the sport and about, you know, just peaking. I feel like peaking is the biggest hurdle because
Yeah.
anyone can kind of, people get just in shape, but I think that science to getting peaked for stage is
Yeah.
very delicate. So I feel like there's just a lot more that I want to learn before taking on, you know, competition.
Yeah, well, posing is becoming really like big right now, just having strictly like posing coaches. That used to not be the case, but now I think people are really seeing the value in having a posing coach, because you can, you can drop down several places just not posing correctly or not posing right,
Yeah, yes, because my one posing client that I have, and like how I mentioned, a lot of girls are transitioning. So
Mm,
she was bikini, and she had a bikini posing coach, and you know, wellness, we have quarter turns,
mhm.
and they don't in bikini, and so she was taught quarter turns to the left, but usually doing quarter turns to the right. And so when she was on stage, she was constantly going the opposite way because her coach had showed her a certain way, but her
Yeah.
posing was a bikini girl. So it was hard because then she was trying to transition to wellness. So I'm like, yeah, that's a big deal because, you know, you're already nervous on stage, and a lot of it you're just kind of going off muscle memory. So anything like that could really, you know, throw you off. So
Yeah, I'm surprised that their coach couldn't, like, did she choose to do wellness after she like already had like these
yeah, I think she
sessions
already
with him?
competed in bikini, and then that year she wanted to transition to wellness, and I think she just
I see.
coach.
I
Yeah,
see. So that's when she picked you up and got 10,000
yeah,
times better.
together.
That's funny. So just to kind of like wind up the show, then like how would somebody reach out to you if they wanted to hire you? And I will go ahead and like link everything at the bottom, make easier for everybody to, to do that. But if you want to go ahead and kind of plug your stuff in right now, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, my site, everything is Q doll, like the Barbie doll, Q doll wellness. So like on my Instagram, I have the link to like my posing and my lifestyle coaching
Mm-hmm.
through Instagram, or you can just go on my site, qdollwellness.com, and it has all that information there. So normally girls like reach out to me on Instagram. Usually that's like the faster way
Yeah.
because everyone's so connected that way. So yeah, so QDoll Wellness on Instagram or on my website, and then I can get you started.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much again. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to get with me. So great. Awesome. You have
All
a
right.
great rest of the day.
Thanks, you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.